Pokemon fans, Tamashii here, and today I'm going to explain exactly why Lavender Town Syndrome is just a rumor. Never in my life have I seen so many people obsessed with perpetuating such a senseless urban legend. Ever since I started posting Lavender Town Syndrome videos, I've gotten an onslaught of comments from believers telling me I'm wrong. Well, today, for the few naysayers who are unconvinced by my previous videos, I'm going to go above and beyond and explain exactly why Lavender Town Syndrome is just a rumor, and why no amount of testing is ever going to prove otherwise.
First of all, let's recap and look into where the myth originated, shall we? As far as I can tell, the invention of the Lavender Town Syndrome myth came about after Pokemon fans learned that in Japan, the very first versions of Pokemon Red and Green had a slightly different version of the music that plays in Lavender Town. Game Freak allegedly confirmed this, explaining that the first version of the song was a pitch higher and caused strain on the Gameboy speakers. They also reportedly acknowledged that the first version of the song may have caused minor headaches because the high-pitched notes in the melody were unpleasant to listen to. The internet community ran with this unconfirmed knowledge and turned it into a creepypasta, otherwise known as an internet urban legend. The name Creepypasta is a variation on copy-paste, referring to a creepy story that has been copied and pasted around the web. It's hard to tell which one was the very first posting of the Lavender Town Syndrome myth, but I spent hours and hours on Google and discovered that the oldest posts even referencing Lavender Town Syndrome are from 2010. That's a bit odd, isn't it? If this really happened all the way back in 1996, why would rumors about it only surface in the past year? Using Google's custom time range search tool, I managed to narrow it down to February 16, 2010. Apparently, the very first posting of the myth, according to Google, was on a Tumblr page. This page claims rumors of Lavender Town Syndrome have been circulating the internet since 1997, and was said to originate from a now-defunct site, which they dead linked to. It's my suspicion, however, that the link never worked in the first place. After my hours of searching, I now know for a fact people were not discussing Lavender Town Syndrome in 1997, or any year until 2010. Between the broken link, the phony date, and the fact that the post itself admits the rumors stemmed from an uncredible source, I think it's pretty safe to say that Lavender Town Syndrome is already on pretty shaky grounds as far as its legitimacy goes, and this video has just gotten started. Oh? What's that you say? You're still unconvinced? Well, let's press onward, shall we? The most widely accepted version of the story goes like this. In Japan, when the first two versions of Pokemon Red and Green were released, they contained said version of the Lavender Town theme that played in a higher pitch than the one we are familiar with and are localized copies of the game, which were released in America. The myth reports that when children listened to the theme, many got headaches, suffered from nausea, and in extreme cases committed suicide. What makes many people believe this myth is plausible is that it's almost always accompanied by video proof, or a video containing what they claim is the song that caused the children to become ill. Usually the versions of the song in the video follow the same melody we are familiar with, and such versions are consistent with the description supposedly provided by Game Freak. Other videos contain an entirely different song which contains binaural beats, notes that cause a feeling of uneasiness, and high-pitched frequencies that trigger the effects of presbycusis, meaning only kids can hear them. Such versions of the song are not consistent with the myth or the alleged Game Freak press statement and were designed to make people feel upset in an attempt to make people believe the rumor. Usually in these videos, creepy images are included to make the viewer or listener uneasy in an attempt to perpetuate the myth.
So now that we're all on the same page about what the myth I'm talking about is, let me explain why no amount of testing is going to prove whether the story is true one way or the other.
There are tons of other versions of the myth listing varying symptoms, circumstances in which the symptoms occur, and even entirely different versions of the song or story. This is one of the biggest reasons no amount of testing will do any good. When an urban legend can't even keep its story straight, there are way too many confounding variables to accurately prove anything. If I test it one way, someone will come up with a part of a different version of the myth I didn't test for. If I test every single variation of the rumor, I'd be testing until I was 80. It's simply impossible to take every difference between every version of the story into account. It doesn't matter anyway though, because testing the myth just distracts from the real reason I don't believe in it. People get so caught up in my means of testing and the results of the test that they ignore my main argument and the biggest, most important piece of evidence anyone could ever use for or against this rumor.
So, let me state my case one last time, loud and clear.
Lavender Town Syndrome is just a myth because there are no reliable sources supporting it. Think about it for a second. This is a story where an extremely popular video game designed for kids caused the kids playing it to become ill, or in some versions of the story even kill themselves. If this were true, there would be some existing form of reputable media coverage available to date. Death, or in this case suicide, is an extremely sensationalist story, which is part of the reason this rumor exists in the first place. If events like this ever happened, it would have been hounded by the press, both here and Japan. No such articles exist, no newspaper clippings, no news videos, nothing. In all my hours of researching for this script on Google, I didn't come across one single credible article. All we have to go by are some copy-pasted stories with a bazillion different variations distributed by word of mouth. If your teacher wouldn't accept it as a source in a research paper, then you shouldn't accept it as a reliable source of information in any scenario. If you do so, this means you're an extremely gullible person. What's wrong with being gullible, you ask? Gullible people are easily taken advantage of. I wouldn't broadcast qualities like that to everyone on the internet if I were you, because you're basically saying, "I'll believe anything, come scam me." And before anyone even utters the words cover-up, let me further illustrate my point. In 1997, an episode of Pokemon aired in Japan called Deno Senshi Porygon. This episode featured a sequence where a series of red and blue colors flashed on the screen, causing Japanese kids and adults with a certain type of epilepsy to have seizures. This was all over the news, and the episode was never aired in America in any edited form. It freaked parents out in America so much it even caused 4Kids, the company handling the localized dub of Pokemon at the time, to dim scenes with any sort of bright lights, such as Pikachu's electric attacks for the American broadcast. What's worse, during the media coverage of this catastrophe in Japan, they aired the footage again during a nightly news broadcast and caused several hundred more elderly people to experience seizures and be hospitalized.
So, if Nintendo and Game Freak, two big powerful companies, could not cover up that incident where no one died, what on earth makes you think that they would be able to cover up incidents involving the suicide of children? Especially since Game Freak wasn't nearly as powerful then as it is now. Think about that for a while.
The media in America was also quite eager to demonize Pokemon. They covered several stories involving Pokemania in a quite negative light. They featured interviews from parents condemning Pokemon for its violence.
Play Pokemon, buy Pokemon cards, have anything whatsoever to do with Pokemon, because the message is violence.
And widely reported a kid stabbing another kid over some Pokemon cards, which I'm not even sure ever happened. Many schools banned Pokemon from their campus, including the one I went to, and many churches also denounced it and claimed it was a product of the devil.
They carry these monsters in their pocket. They say the Pokemon whole effort is to train children how to become the #1 Pokemon master in the world.
Once again, I ask you, if the media is so bloodthirsty and quick to scandalize something as innocent as a game for kids, why would they not report on an incident where the target of their rage caused kids to become ill or inflict harm on themselves? If it happened, trust me, they would have covered it to the extent that they covered the royal wedding.
But they didn't, which can only mean Lavender Town Syndrome isn't real.
So please, I beg of you, stop believing and perpetuating this story. I know urban legends can be fun and exciting, but ultimately all you're doing by passing it on is telling your friends, "Hey, I'm gullible as hell, want to take advantage of me?" Not only that, but think about how mean-spirited this rumor is in the first place. You're no better than the adults who reported on Pokemon as though it were some devilish force corrupting the youth. You're exploiting the fears of others to get some shallow attention for yourself. If you like Pokemon, think about how many kids will never want to play it because they've been scared off by rumors like these. Even if you don't like Pokemon, think about the parents of children who have actually lost a kid to suicide or otherwise. You're scandalizing and exploiting their plight. It's insensitive to get a cheap thrill from a story like this, and even worse to seek attention from it.
Sorry to burst your bubble, but you're not doing anyone any favors by keeping this dumb rumor alive. All you're doing is making yourself look stupid and ruining a good game for a lot of kids. I sincerely hope this is the last video I have to make on this subject, and that the endless comments trying to prove me wrong will cease. Feel free to argue if you want, but as far as I'm concerned, this rumor is long debunked. And hopefully now I can move on to covering other facets of the Pokemon fandom, and let this dumb urban legend rest in peace.